storytelling in business is very serious business. Story is the most important communication tool you can have in your tool belt if you want to be memorable, if you want to be persuasive. Now, if you don't want to be memorable, if you want to just flap your lips and say a whole bunch of stuff in a room and people walk out and go delete and they go on with their business and nothing changes, then you don't need story. We don't remember things that aren't emotionally charged. So if you've ever given a boring presentation that was filled with all kinds of incredible data and it didn't stick, that's because there was no emotional connection. And you know what the number one reason I am hired to go out and work with companies and individuals and teams? They want the emotional connection. Because they understand intellectually that if I don't make an emotional connection, the stuff doesn't stick. Would you agree? It's that emotional connection. And your data and your PowerPoint slides very seldom do that. Emotion is the fast lane to the brain. If you can infuse your presentation with emotion, and I mean you got to stand up here and cry, but I mean you get into it. You have some energy, you have some emotion, you're charged by this story, and if it's a personal story, it has that emotion in it. What's your story? And is it worth working on this story and making it a little bit more colorful so that you can monetize that story and turn that into $1 million story? Because your story can take you to the next place, but at the same time it can influence and persuade people to go to the next place, but they won't do it if they just hear it and understand it. Understanding a concept does not change hearts, minds, and behavior. It does not get people to write a check. It does not get people to say, okay, you've convinced me, all right, I'm going to go along with your idea. No, there's got to be something more compelling. Years ago, I realized I get hired all the time by very, very frustrated clients who are giving very, very dull, dry, technical presentations full of very good information, but they put their listeners into a content coma. Have you ever done this with a presentation? Have you ever put your audience into a content coma? Say yes. I know some of you have, because it's like such good content. Here's the greatest challenge that you face in your presentations, internally or externally. If you go in and you make a presentation, the person that you're speaking to is going to take action later on, based on whether they remember anything from your presentation or not. You have to be memorable. And if you give a presentation and you're not memorable, you're dead in the water. You need to look at your presentation in terms of what presentation have I got that I have to win. I have to have a story that just rocks. It has to nail it. I mean, it's just got to compel people to action. I have to get them to change their mind. I have to get them to change their perspective. I have to move them. Well, if you want to move them, then you need to be moving them with energy and passion and power and personality and an incredibly crafted story, a story theater story. Stories are products. Stories are products. They can be monetized. They can make you money. And the Google story is pretty interesting, right? 1995, Sergey Brin and Larry Page met each other at Stanford. Started to collaborate, developed a friendship. They were both technology guys. They decided, yeah, we've got something in common. And in 1996, they had created their first search engine. And this was probably the first search engine that had ever occurred anywhere in the world. It was a new concept, new idea. At Stanford University, it was called Backrub. And so here they are developing this thing, and it's really successful at Stanford, and the students are using it, and everybody's thinking it's really cool. But it took too much bandwidth over the computer system, and so they had to rework it a little bit. And in 1997, I believe it is, they decided we need a new name. Backrub is kind of weird. That's not the right name, and they came up with Google. They went out and bought the domain name, google.com. And over a period of time, they started to realize this is hot. This is amazing. This is good technology. We need to do something with this. And that's where story came in. They knew they had to go sit down with venture capital people, somebody who could give them some money, because they knew they didn't have the money themselves. They had to find somebody who could fund this idea. And so they went out and they started talking to different people. And they ended up getting lucky. There was this guy named Andy Bechtolsheim at Sun Microsystems. And they sat down across the table with him and they told the story of a vision they had for a search engine technology that would allow people to find any information anywhere. Now, this didn't exist outside of Stanford at that time, and it was a new concept and a new idea, and they had to paint this picture in Andy's mind of what this would be. They told the story. They walked out of that meeting with a $100,000 check.
If you invite Doug to join you and your team, what I can tell you about his style is that he has a poise, a presence, he infuses humor into the day many, many times, and through his stories he actually can help bridge the connection to you personally. That's something that makes it, again, come to life and make it real. He's fun, he's engaging, he has energy, and he just has a way about him that creates an environment of comfort for everyone in the classroom such that they can truly enjoy the experience, sit back, learn, listen, and even be vulnerable at times, which is nice, because we can actually be human on the job as we should be, especially for leaders.
The greatest accolade, if you will, that I've received, that was the first event that I put together for our senior leadership team, was when our CEO, as soon as Doug finished speaking, sent a text message to my boss, who's the Senior Director of Talent Management and Performance Management, saying that we absolutely nailed it with our speaker.
Doug is a delight. He's someone that you would want to be around. He gives off a level of authenticity, and he's an approachable person, so that you're instantaneously drawn to who he is on stage, which is rare. Sometimes people are good speakers, but maybe they seem a little too cool for school or a little bit distant because they seem like a rock star. Doug is clearly a rock star, but he's an approachable rock star. That's what I would describe him as. Approachable rock star.